Good morning. So I like it, the other day I was sharing again something I I wrote. Actually, the one I shared was some article. Was an article from somewhere else, but I did write a few things about the Turtle House in Bangkok. Was the house where Tiziano Terzani lived from 1990 to 1994, and Tiziano Terzani was a Italian journalist and writer, and one of my favorite writers. So, like, Turtle House was a place where Tiziano Terzani wrote one. So that's when, that's when Tiziano Terzani is the period where Tiziano Terzani wrote a book. So he wrote a book in Thailand, but living in on the beach, I think somewhere in the south of Thailand, while his family and him was staying permanently in this house in the center of Bangkok. Turtle House was very famous for him for various reasons, because it was like kind of like the only oasis of nature among a concrete jungle that is now even worse. But for me, being such an inspirational person, Terzani, I really wanted to visit his house last time I was in Bangkok. This is 6 years ago. So, a little bit of backstory about the man. He's a quite unique and interesting, one of those few people from the past that definitely made a big impact in many people way to think. And in my case, he's one of the reasons why I started to write and to share those videos. And especially there was something he wrote, like something he wrote in one of these books that made me really reflect a lot, where he was saying, what's the point to collect memories, adventures, and experiences and not sharing it? Like, there is no point to keep everything inside. It's very important to share it so that you can be some sort of guidance for what's coming next. So that really made me think, because I did experience quite a lot of things in all those years. Lived in many countries and had many things happening, good and bad. So I realized that I had enough material to share to others and pass to others what I lived and experienced. So initially I wanted to write a book like him, but then I thought, well, my main purpose is not to make money or become famous. I don't care. My main purpose was to share what I knew, and at the same time, hopefully, to be of some sort of help to others that might go through the same similar journey. So I started to read so many books of him, and I haven't finished yet. And I love this man. I love this man not just for what he wrote, about his travelings, but I love him politically, philosophically, and for the principle he holds in himself that's making him such inspirational man. So, he just like a small, who is Tiziano Terzani? He was born in Tuscany in a very poor family in just outside Florence, and but he was a very smart guy, so he was able, to go to school through those circumstances out of our control that allowed him to, through several events, to be able, to do elementary, high school, and university that at the time, for poor family, was a rarity. Because at the time, you would probably finish maybe elementary, if you were lucky, maybe high school, and then go to work. If your family had own a business, you would go and work for your family, or you would go and work somewhere else to help and support your family. But because he was a very intelligent and thanks to some very wise teachers, they were able to convince their family to keep him studying. He was able, to go through all the school and to graduate. Initially, so because of his, like, already since young age, he had a principle and value where, he wanted to help poor people to come out from poverty. And because obviously he was poor himself, so he initially wanted to study as a lawyer so that he could help, other people, and then ended up working for Olivetti, that at the time was like what we can call today, nowadays, a social enterprise. He would invest money, into cultures, events, helping people in need. So it was still, in line with this principle, but he really found very hard the kind of like corporate work. His dream was to become a journalist, and slowly, thanks to his wife's support, he was able to achieve his goals. He was always fascinated by China, that at the time was emerging as a communist country, and because of the propaganda and obviously, like, having internet, like, it was seen as the solution to the capitalistic and greedy society they lived in. We know that it wasn't, and like any kind of ideology, at the end, the worst of human beings comes out. So regarding what is the party, what is the philosophy, or the political values. But he really believed that it was like a force for good. So he learned Chinese, that for someone in the 60s was like, for an Italian from the 60s wanted to learn Chinese, was already on its own like something unusual. So he learned Chinese, started to travel around Europe to find a job, because in Italy nobody wanted to hire him, and he found a job for a German newspaper called Der Spiegel. It becomes the correspondent from Asia. Through his life, he lived in many countries in Asia, talking, witnessing wars, political unrest, and so on, and finally able to go and live in China, where realizing about the real political situation of the country, that was actually a dictatorship, he denounced the situation in the country until the point that the government arrest him and deport him. That's how end his love for China. So he go through a period of difficulty. So he moves to Japan, where he go through a serious depression, seeing how the worst of Asia was actually coming to surface. Like all he always was worried, and they tried, the reason why he became a journalist, to try to prevent what Japan would actually became, what it became at the time and what it is now. So witnessing all the things he hated to actually put into place in a country in Asia like Japan got him in a serious depression, because he felt, what's the point? I denounced crimes, I denounced dictatorships, I, tried to show to people what a war is, what corruption is, to try to make a change in people's consciousness. But he started slowly to realize that doesn't matter how much effort he would put, even he was able to reach millions of people around the world. Things were changing completely opposite of what he wished and dreamed. So he went into depression to see, a society that was destroying itself, and a world that was becoming more and more dependent of robots and computers more than human connections. For him, was very hard to witness all of that, especially after so much hard work trying to bring a difference, a positive impact in people's lives. So finally, he's able to leave Japan and moves to Bangkok. And that's where another big change happens. At this time, this change is spiritually. Because slowly, and obviously, with this new understanding about how history repeats itself and how things seems not changing but keep repeating, he started to have a more spiritual approach to life. And the turning point was a book he wrote while living in Bangkok. So basically, I think it was 8 years earlier in Hong Kong, a fortune teller tell him that in 1982 he should never fly, because if he would fly, he would die. So he gets, he remembered it, and he gets this crazy idea. So for 1 year to go through Asia without flying, just using car, boats, walks, anything, but not flying. So he spent all 1982 in this way, and somehow in that same year, an helicopter that he was supposed to take, I think it was to Cambodia or Vietnam, that obviously didn't, because what he decided for the year, actually this helicopter fall and crash, and the person that took his place instead of him, that don't die, but he gets and he is injured, kind of like confirming that what the fortune teller actually predicted before. So from this 1 year traveling and visiting fortune tellers in every city, country he visited, he write this book that becomes the most famous of these books, that is a fortune teller told me. But this book is even the beginning of this new spiritual approach in life that takes him to India, where the transformation takes place completely, and until the end of his life, when because of cancer he dies in his house in the mountain of Tuscany. So that's one of the reasons why Thailand and Bangkok is so important for him. And and the Turtle House. I mean, he renamed this house the Turtle House because of a very ancient turtle that was inside the lake, inside the house. So obviously for me, that I respected this man so much and been such an inspirational model. So, for me, I wanted to visit the house where he lived, especially because looking at pictures and photos of this house, it's just beautiful. It was just, I mean, like it was worth a visit, even if he didn't live there. So I remember this is 6 years ago. After like searching for a couple of days, because the addresses that I had somehow would not lead me where theoretically was supposed to be. So, but and finally, asking around, I'm able to find it, and was beautiful. I mean, like now, like I understand now why it was so important for him. He talks about this house a lot. I mean, we are talking about central Bangkok, the most dense concrete jungle, full of condominium, hotels, skyscrapers, like around Sukhumvit area. Any little green space ever been fucking removed and instead build a house, a condominium, luxury flat that nobody can fucking afford. And this is like a trend all around the fucking world. I was lucky. I was lucky twice. First, because I had the opportunity to meet Kamsing, that was the man that looked after the house when Terzani was there. And because sadly, there was the last year that house would be there before being destroyed and built instead luxury flats, a hotel. I spent probably a good 1 hour, couple of hours, even going back, walking around, try to breathe thing and feeling what maybe Terzani could have felt when he was there. It was just wonderful. Literally, this wooden old Thai house in front of this lake, surrounded by tall palm trees and nature and thick nature, that while inside, you literally forget to be surrounded by monsters of concrete. It, it really was magical, like a magical place. Like honestly, it's a really magical place. So I enjoyed the time there, and I felt lucky that I had the opportunity to discover such an amazing man that was Terzani. And I was lucky to have the opportunity to see this wonderful like leftover of Bangkok, of what Bangkok used to be. A wonderful place before becoming the monster that is now, pushed by this illusion that we call capitalism. But capitalism because there is a good capitalism where you reinvest the money you make for communities and to help community, and then you have the worst of capitalism where you have this illusion, this crazy idea about collecting money as much as you can and buying properties and buy businesses. This crazy idea about power, about richness, that is just a fucking illusion. Nothing is real. Which is power? You die, you have nothing. You destroyed the environment. You made a country on their feet, destroying the well-beings of millions of families. And what you have at the hand is that, and it's gonna take away everything. So I don't understand why people don't understand that. It just drives me crazy. Like, how is possible that so many humans believes this bullshit when it is just a bullshit, it's just an illusion, it's no real. But we're destroying everything. We are destroying literally everything to gain more money, more power. And so I'm talking now, I'm talking about Bangkok, but there is so many examples around the world. I mean, even in the fucking country, or whatever country means, where I was born, or in the country where I live now. So I think Bangkok has been, it's to another level. But Bangkok, I mean, I had the chance, living in Bangkok enough to see parts of Bangkok, or like that still remaining of what Bangkok was, and it's of such a beauty, like the temples, the jungles, the canals, and instead what we have now, concrete, buildings after buildings, after roads, after buildings, and it's just getting worse year by year. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that, but I was back in Bangkok a few weeks ago. I was there for 1 month and a half for some work, and obviously I wanted to visit again the turtle house that I knew that was probably gone. Obviously I had like a little hope that it was saved. I knew there was a petition to try to save it, and I wished with all my heart that it succeeded. But when I arrived, the turtle house was gone. Instead, they're building, I think it's been demolished recently. What they're building, luxury flats, fucking luxury flats. You have like no one fucking tree. Is a building after a building. They are building a luxury flat, or maybe hotel, luxury hotel, whatever. Yeah, destroyed, gone. So, the last beautiful oasis, the little heaven in within this jungle of concrete, was gone. So I was disappointed, but not surprised. The important thing is that the memories is within me. That's why memories is so important. That's why collecting memories is the most important things, because once the time ends, all you have on your deathbed will be memories. All you will remember will be memories. What will make you feel better will be the places you visited, the people you met that made you feel good or give you emotions. bad or good, and that cannot be taken away from me, except, memory will be gone, like, except like I become mentally ill and won't remember. But that cannot be taken away. You can't build within my soul luxury condominium. So within my soul, that beautiful place where Terzani lived and what that, at the period where he wrote that book, it's still impressed in my heart. Same as a lot of places in Bangkok there, when I see them, reminds me about him, while walking in the past, while walking on this part of Bangkok, listening to his talks or reading his books or audiobooks. And it's, the power of our mind, to connect places with music or, books. So it's, it cannot be taken away. So I was lucky enough to witness this beauty before it was gone. Yeah, obviously, hope that a change will take place in this world is always there. Like, I'm not pessimistic. I know that, I strongly believe that everything's happened for a reason. And even what we perceive as a mess and bad happened for a reason. So, as much I might not like it, but I accept it and try to learn from that. In the meantime, I wish that whoever is likely to come across Tiziano Terzani books can learn or be inspired as I have been. And I want to leave you with, I think, a very meaningful sentence that he said, once, and he wrote about it, answering to a journalist question, like, if you have two roads, one that goes downhill and one that goes uphill, take always the one that goes uphill. It's harder, but the view is amazing. The one that goes downhill, once you reach the bottom, that's it. Nothing to see there. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.